Hi, my name's Lisa Merrell, and this is my daughter, Ashley. So my addiction started off extremely young. My parents both used substances as a way to cope. I know that I was high in my second grade annual school picture. It affected much of my high school years where harder drugs come into play. I found that using substances, it numbed the pain. It helped me block out the uncomfortable feelings. In my first marriage, we struggled with substance use. Of course, there was periods of time when I was sober, like when I was pregnant and had my children, and then the addiction would pick straight back up.
There becomes part of your life you don't realize is abnormal until you get out of it. Things don't start adding up so much anymore of, a lot of arguing and just different behaviors that I went on to realize that there was a drug problem going on with my parents. I was 11 when they divorced, and for years I kind of watched both parents struggle with drug addiction. I think it was in 2005. I was 15 and my mom went to jail, and I was kind of like, in a way, happy, but I knew if she was in jail, she was safe.
I was making all them 911 prayers to God. God, help me. God, please. God, change my life. God, do this. God, do that. Well, he was giving me the clear answers, but, I wasn't following through with what the answers he was providing. He sat me somewhere to be still and listen. So I go to jail on some drug charges. I ended up in the drug court program. I was pregnant for the 4th time.
In a lot of ways, I think, God gave us Alyssa, and partially to save my mama. It's one thing to fight for yourself, but it's another thing to also fight for your children. I saw that there was a level of grit and want to in her for the first time that I'd never really seen before.
I went to a 12-month recovery program that was faith-based. So for the first time in my life, that is where I really started feeling God move in my life. I was feeling them burdens be lifted. So I maintained sobriety for right at 8 years when I relapsed. It was a major setback for me. I used that one time, and it wasn't like just a one-time using tonight, not going to use again. It lasted for 3 years.
So I do remember a few years, into my mom's recovery, her telling me about a safety plan. And I was like, Mama, you're fine. I just felt like we've made it. And I wish I could tell you that it is just that easy to remain sober. It's not. I'm, an adult at this point and was married, and I had actually just had my first daughter. As much as I wanted to, and as much as I wanted to believe that it was not true, I knew that I couldn't do that anymore, especially when I saw my sister and was spending more time with her, and I knew that I didn't want her to grow up and see some of the things that I had saw. I went to get her. It was not easy.
I thought I braced her really well for all that stuff, but I must say it was probably 20 times worse than that. It was way worse than what I had prepared her for.
And when the reality set in that I'm taking Alyssa with me and she's not coming back, it was tough. It was really hard.
I did realize that Alyssa going to live with Ashley was the best thing for Alyssa.
Alyssa came to move in with us. It was at September of 2015. I had just gone back to work full time after having my first daughter, and now I have a 9-year-old and a 4-month-old. Felt like my world was quickly collapsing. This time I was an adult and more aware of everything that was going on, and it was extremely difficult to go to bed every night and wonder if I would wake up to the news that my mom that something had happened to her. I thought that there was something I could do, and God quickly showed me that there's nothing you can do. There's nothing in your strength, but in His strength all things are possible.
I ended up over in Alabama. I become homeless. Didn't have a phone, didn't call home, didn't check in with nobody. I felt very absent and withdrawn from family. So I ended up in jail in Alabama. Thanks to my recovery the first go around, I knew what to do to get myself back into recovery. Identify the things that were working and where things started going wrong, and started attending support groups. And to me, the support groups and the counseling was really big the first time. And the opposite of addiction is connection. And we are all meant to have community. It seems like every time I talk about it a little bit, it gives a little less power to it,
To have my mom restored and just reconciliation in all places. Now looking back, I can recognize it was one of the best gifts that God has given me. I just want to say that I'm so proud of my mom and what she's overcame. And truly, I wouldn't be where I am without her.
This is how the family heals. This is how the family heals.
Yes. And so it's just a God thing. Like, I truly think it's a story that only God could have written.